There's a plate on a kitchen table somewhere tonight. Just the one. A fork. A glass of water or a beer he's only gotten halfway down. And one chair pulled out. Just one. While the other three sit pushed in tight. The way they've sat now for, 6 years? 7? He stopped counting a while back. 2 streets over, 6 people are hollering over each other to pass the potatoes. A kid's just knocked over his milk, the TV going in the other room. And here? Here it's just a man, a warm plate, and the little scrape of one chair leg against the linoleum. And if you walked by and caught a look at him through that window, I'll bet you'd feel something go tight in your chest. Poor old guy, all by himself. You'd have the whole sad story written before you got to the corner. The wife, gone. The kids who don't call the way they ought to. All those empty chairs where a big, loud, complicated life used to sit down every single night. But here's the thing you'd have no way of knowing, standing out there in the dark, looking in. This is the best part of his whole day. Not the loneliest part, the best part. Say that out loud to most people and they won't believe you. They can't. Because we've all been handed the same one story about a man eating his supper alone, and it only ever ends the one way. So let me tell you the other one. The one hardly anybody bothers to tell, because I've come to think it might be the most misunderstood meal there is. And if you're a man somewhere the far side of 60, sitting down at your own table tonight, I think part of you already knows where I'm headed. Because you remember the other kind, the loud kind. The full table, everybody home, the whole circus of it. And if you're honest about it now, and one of the few good things about getting old is you can finally afford to be honest, a lot of those dinners just plain wore you out. Not that they were bad, not that you didn't love them. They were just work. A whole lot of work. You spent 40 years at a dinner table that was never really about the food. Think about it. For most of your life, dinner wasn't a meal. It was a meeting. The one stretch of the day when everybody finally landed in the same room, so it became the place where everything got handled. Whose turn it was for the car that weekend. The phone bill that came in $11 higher than it should have. A report card with a C on it you were too wrung out to act mad about. And that argument simmering since 7 that morning, finally boiling clean over between the salad and the second helping of meatloaf. You sat at the head of that table like a man running a board meeting he never asked to run, keeping the peace, refereeing the kids, reading your wife's face the second you walked in to figure out what kind of night it'd be, steering clear of the 3 or 4 subjects that always started a fire. You were working. Every meal, you were working. And then you'd carry your plate to the sink, and if somebody had asked you right then what you'd just eaten, you couldn't have told them. You never tasted a bite. You were too busy running the room to taste your own dinner. That's the part nobody warns you about. For the man at the head of it, that hour could be the hardest shift of the day. The mask went on right around 6, and it didn't come off until the last plate was dried and stacked back in the cupboard. Now hear me right. I'm not saying you didn't love them. You did. You'd have walked straight through fire for every soul at that table. But love and duty got braided up so tight that after 20-some years, you couldn't tell the one from the other. You showed up because you loved them, and because you had to.
And for 40 years, those two things wore the exact same face. So when folks see a man eating by himself and go all soft and sorry for him, they're sorry about the wrong thing. They picture him grieving some warm, easy Norman Rockwell kind of family supper. But here's the truth. A lot of men never had that supper. What they had was a second job that came with a fork. And now look at what the man's doing. He made the thing he wanted. Maybe it's a ribeye, pink through the middle, when for 40 years he ordered it well done at home just to keep the peace. Maybe it's a couple of fried eggs at 7 at night because he had a taste for eggs, and there's not one living soul left who can tell him eggs aren't a proper supper. Maybe it's the same plate 4 nights running because he likes it just fine, and the only person who could get bored of it is him. And he doesn't.
And here's a small miracle nobody thinks to clap for. A lot of men his age were never taught to feed themselves. Their mothers cooked, then their wives cooked, and somewhere in that handoff, a whole generation learned to set the points on a distributor, but never learned to put together a decent supper for one. So when a man the wrong side of 60 stands at his stove and actually cooks, not cornflakes over the sink, not the Chinese place for the 4th night this week, but something hot he made with his own 2 hands, that's not a small thing. That's a man deciding he's still worth the trouble, that he'll feed himself the way he'd feed somebody he loved, which, Lord knows it took him long enough, is exactly the man he became. And he salted it however he pleased. Think how small a thing that is to even say out loud. And then think how many years he ate food seasoned for everybody else's tongue but his own. 40 years in a house run by committee, where even the salt shaker was a negotiation. And he's taking his time. There's no clock on him anymore. Nobody tapping a foot, nobody to be dropped at practice by 1:45, no schedule shoving at the back of the meal. He can sit with one heel of bread and butter for 10 minutes and watch the light go gold over the back fence. When you were 30, dinner was something you bolted down on your way to the next thing. Now the dinner is the thing. There is no next thing. And that's a quiet kind of luxury no restaurant on God's earth can sell you. Now, I want to stop right here a minute and tread careful, because I know who's out there listening. There are men hearing my voice right now who eat alone tonight and hate every minute of it. Men who set one plate down where, for 40 years, there were always 2. And the quiet in that kitchen isn't peace, it's a hole. If that's you, if you lost her, and the silence sits on your chest like a stone that won't roll off, then I am not talking past you. I'm not talking over you. I see you. That kind of alone is real, and it's heavy as anything. And there's not 1 ounce of shame in missing the sound of another person breathing across the table from you. That is not weakness. Lord, no. That's just love with nowhere left to go. So let me draw the line clear, because the line is everything. Eating alone and aching for somebody to be there, that's grief. That's loneliness. And it deserves gentleness and time. And some nights it deserves picking up the phone and calling one of the people who loves you. Don't sit in that alone if it's eating at you. But eating alone and being at peace with it, choosing it on purpose, that's a different animal. That is not a man who's got nobody.
That's a man who's made his peace with his own company. Two men, two identical tables, the same plate of food in front of them both, living in two different worlds. And this, what I'm talking about tonight, this is about that second man, the one who got himself there, not because life cleared off his table for him, but because somewhere down the line he just stopped being afraid of the empty chair. Because that's the real fear, isn't it? Not the hunger, not even being alone exactly. It's that empty chair across from you. For near about the whole history of the human race, we ate in a pack, around a fire, shoulder to shoulder, the whole noisy clan of us. And there's some old wiring buried way down deep that still whispers a man eating alone is a man in trouble, a man cast out. So an empty chair can feel almost unbearable, especially to a younger fella. He'll flip the TV on just to have a voice in the room. He'll scroll his phone with one hand and shovel food with the other. Anything to keep from being left alone with a plate and the inside of his own head. You see it sharpest in a restaurant. A man walks in by himself, and the gal up front looks right past his shoulder, hunting for the rest of the party that isn't coming, and asks, gentle, always so gentle, "Just the one tonight?" And for a younger man, those few words land like a verdict read out in front of the whole room. Just one. Like a single person is a fraction, a leftover. He feels every other table clock him for half a second, eats quick, eyes down, and gets himself gone. But the older man, he's heard just one enough times that it quit stinging years back. He'll take the good table by the window, thank you kindly, order what he's got a taste for, maybe a glass of red alongside it, and take his own sweet time. Because he's not one bit embarrassed to be caught enjoying his own company. And that's a kind of quiet confidence most people never get to. Not at any age.
Because a man who's put in the work, and don't kid yourself, learning to enjoy your own company is work. Maybe the last big job a man ever takes on, can look square at the empty chair and feel not one flicker of panic. It's a chair. That's all it is. The room's quiet, and the quiet doesn't stand there accusing him of anything anymore. And the folks who study this, how a person changes as he ages, have a name for a piece of what's going on. What they've found is that as a man gets older and the road ahead gets shorter, and he can feel it getting shorter, he naturally quits pouring his hours into whatever's shallow or drains him dry, and starts pouring them into the handful of things that mean something. His world gets smaller, but on purpose, not because anybody abandoned him, because he's editing. And here's the part that catches people off guard. The men who do this, who let the noise fall away and keep only what's real, tend to wind up more content, not less. The shrinking isn't the sad thing everybody takes it for. An awful lot of the time, the shrinking is the wisdom. And there's something that happens at a table set for one that can't happen anywhere else. You start to taste your food again. I mean, really taste it. For the first time in about 30 years, there's nobody to manage. No conversation to steer off the rocks. No face across the table you've got to keep one eye on. There's just you, and a hot plate of food, and your own thoughts, which, wouldn't you know it, turn out to be pretty fair company once you quit running from them.
A man at a crowded table is hardly ever alone with himself. A man at a table for one hasn't got a choice. And in that quiet, things start drifting back up that all those years of noise had buried. His own opinions, the ones he never had to defend to a living soul. Old memories surfacing slow and easy between the bites. Some nights he'll catch himself thinking about people long gone now. His own father, saying, an old buddy from the plant. That cocky young man he used to be at 30. The one who figured he had it all licked. And it won't feel like loneliness, not a bit. It'll feel like company, just a different kind. A table for one is never close to as empty as it looks from out there on the sidewalk. And this, right here, is finally why he prefers it. This is the answer to the thing I asked you way back at the start. He doesn't eat alone because there's nobody who'd sit down with him. He eats alone because, after 60-some years of that table belonging to everybody else, to the kids, to the schedules, to the endless keeping of the peace, that table is finally, all the way, his. Every meal is a small act of ownership, a quiet vote, cast for the man he actually is, eating what he likes, at the pace he wants, in the silence he spent his whole life being too busy and too needed to ever sit down and enjoy. So the next time you walk past that window, or some old fella waves off your dinner invitation one more time, or you watch your own dad quietly fix himself a plate for one, read that picture a little different than you would have. That is not a man who got left behind. That just might be a man who finally got right where he was going. And don't go thinking he's given up on people. Watch him with the 2 or 3 who really matter to him. The old friend, a grandkid, the 1 or 2 souls he'd still get in the car and drive clear across the state for. No questions asked. He'll set a second plate for them so fast it'll make your head spin, and light up like a porch light doing it. He's got all the room in the world at that table for the people who feel like rest instead of work. He just quit setting places out of pure, dumb obligation. He quit filling chairs for the sake of having them filled. And if you are that man, the one who's gone quiet at dinner, who's quit apologizing for the empty chairs, who started, almost against his own will, to look forward to that hot plate and that gold light and that good, clean quiet, then hear this next part clear. Because the world out there is sure as anything never going to say it to you. You are not pitiful. You are not the sad thing they think they're looking at when they catch you sitting there on your own. You did not lose your table. You finally took the thing back. That plate in front of you tonight is not some sad little symbol of everything you don't have anymore. It's a small, daily, private celebration of the one thing it took you 60 hard years to finally get through your head. That your own company was worth the keeping the whole time. So eat it slow. Salt it however you please. Watch the light go down over the yard. And the next time some kind, well-meaning waiter looks across at you and asks, "Just the one tonight?" you go right on ahead and smile when you tell him yes. Because there is nothing just about it. Not one thing. It's the best seat in the whole house.
And after all this time, after all those years, you are finally the one who gets to decide who sits there.